It's not every day that you encounter a game that's as charming as it is frustrating. Welcome to our co-op experience with Astroneer and the DLC Glitchwalkers. And here is how it went.
Wow, I can traverse space with you in this game? Like a real astronaut.
I don't think this is intended. Our oxygen is running low. I think it's a glitch.
A glitch? As in the DLC? I thought we needed to do a quest for that.
That was not Glitchwalkers. That was just a glitch.
And what about this? Or that?
We played Astroneer in co-op for roughly 40 hours, and if you want to know whether you should recruit some extra co-pilots for your space program or rather stay behind on your home planet, stay tuned. We will keep this review as objective as possible and will share our personal opinion and recommendations at the end. So, starting out, how does it work?
You and up to 3 more co-pilots can play in one locally hosted session, or up to 8 in total if you choose a dedicated server to host your session. Unfortunately, couch co-op is not supported. Setting up a server locally or remote requires you to go through quite some steps, while hosting on a dedicated server will also cost you extra. So we would suggest you just create a non-permanent session while you're online. The game is also available on PlayStation, Xbox and Switch, but crossplay only works in specific combinations, which you can see on screen right now. So Switch, for example, can't play with any other platforms. So take your group's hardware into consideration. Also, if you want to play the Glitchwalkers DLC, beware as this currently doesn't work on dedicated servers at all.
So, creating a non-permanent session is quite easy. One click and you load into the game. Everything after that is saved on the host's account and can only be progressed if they are online. Inviting others into the session is also quite simple as long as your save game is intact. More on that later. Everyone needs a copy of the base game, but only the host requires to buy Glitchwalkers. There are also no open lobbies or party finders in-game, so you have to know someone who plays to form a group.
Starting out, you can choose from a set of different spacesuits, visors, color palettes and more. Further unlocks are available by progressing the game, through events and the in-game shop. There is no deep visual progression tied to your character, but you can change your looks as often as you like.
You can play in co-op almost directly from the start, as soon as your first cinematic ends. There is no tutorial, just a handful of quick guides and a little mission log. You will have to figure out most aspects yourself by reading the guide, trying around or with the help of external websites. This can feel a bit frustrating. We think that the starting phase could really profit from a small tutorial to learn the basics, since Astroneer has a unique way of controlling all the stuff around you. You can terraform in different ways, your inventory is visual and accessible all the time, even by other players, and you can yank stuff around with your mouse to your heart's content. These features are very playful and fun to toy with, but also a bit confusing if left unexplained. But aside from yanking stuff around, what's the gameplay like?
Astroneer takes place in a solar system with a total of 7 planets, 8 with the DLC. All those planets have one thing in common: mysterious structures placed on each one of them. To uncover their secrets, you need to progress through the many different recipes and materials the game has to offer. Unlocks are shared, as they unlock for the save game. Character-specific unlocks, however, are handled a little bit different. Rewards from events require all players to be present, otherwise you won't get credit for the rewards. Progressing quests counts for everyone, but players not present won't know about the progression aside from little notification pop-ups without the story's content or cinematic shots. Some of the resources needed for your progression are only available on specific planets. So you will find yourself in a constant loop of hopping between planets to gather resources to construct more complex machines and materials.
There is no real character progression as you only progress your convenience, with different terraforming tools, better oxygen and energy management. When starting out, you're very much tethered to your base, while later on you can walk and terraform freely, while having improved mobility with rovers, hoverboards and trains. This is a great plus if you have someone joining in late, as they have no catch-up to do before they can join your expedition. On the flip side, If you die, you drop all these upgrades, which can happen at the most unpleasant locations and thus make recovering your gear hard or even impossible.
And this can happen quite often, depending on how lucky you are with bugs and glitches. But we will tackle that in the technical section. So the primary loop we just discussed feels good, but can get repetitive going into the later stages of the game, where it is crucial to automate the basics, as you will run in circles otherwise. As this is a sandbox game, you're obviously free to do whatever you want, as you can shape the whole world to your liking. After completing the main game, you can also tackle the recently released Glitchwalkers DLC. Technically, you could do this as soon as you fulfilled the mandatory prerequisite quest, but since the DLC feels more like an additional challenge rather than a real expansion, you're probably better off playing the base game first. The DLC offers a whole new planet with a different biome and challenges. Higher difficulty, but no new stuff, materials or plans. Unfortunately, our expectations and reality for this DLC did not align very well, as it felt more like a glorified New Game Plus. In essence, you get stripped of everything you worked for, tools and recipes. Then, you're put on a new planet and your previous progress gets locked behind a storyline told through unvoiced terminal texts. So, where the base game felt like an open adventure to explore and figure stuff out, you now follow a story thread to gain all that stuff back again. Starting with the DLC also creates a new save game, so if you and your group want to continue progressing the original game, we would advise you not to push for Glitchwalkers.
Talking of groups, the co-op in the early game stages feels really worthwhile. Although you could practically task someone to gather materials while the other one expands the base, collecting resources just works better as a team, especially in the early stages. Not only do you have double the carry capacity, you can also work hand in hand, shoving materials around or paving a road while the other one drives the tractor on it. It gives the whole exploration a nice cooperative adventure feeling. The feeling of working together is really strong, as you can literally pick up an object and seamlessly and visually stuff it into a backpack of someone else, or drop it on their head, whatever you prefer. It has that real "could you hand me the screwdriver" feel to it. The game also lets you travel together. All you need is a seat. Attach it to a rover, train or rocket and off you go with whoever pilots the vehicle. Describing your driver where you want to go could turn out to be tricky though, as there is no in-game chat. However, you got plenty of emotes and the ability to point into directions. For full-fledged communication, you will probably need to rely on external tools, as there is also no voice chat. However, in later stages, many tasks can easily be handled alone and therefore lowering the co-op value quite a bit. That's the point where you begin splitting up tasks and even venture to other planets while the rest of your team remains in your main base and works on the progression. Unfortunately, that's also the point where the gameplay feels more like coexistence than cooperation.
So, who would you best take on such a journey? As the core mechanics are quite easy, although also quite different than usual, this ain't a hard game. You can probably play with everyone you like, be it friends, your partner, parents, or your children. However, be mindful about some of the less fun aspects of the game, as this might narrow down your choice of co-op partners. For one, the game can get extremely frustrating really quick. Call it a skill issue, but we found ourselves many times just doing normal in-game activities and suddenly dropping dead the next second, exiting a rocket, teleporting from one point to another, leaving a train or tripping over a pebble, all leading to our digital demise. Best case, this happens in your base and you pick up your stuff and shrug it off. But more often than not, you were far below the surface when you met your digital end, and now it's up to you to get back down there. But this time without your equipment, which made this progress possible in the first place. This can be very frustrating, as these are not the only bugs in the game. So better team up with someone patient and supportive. Patience might also be required for the core aspects, as it's quite a grindy game with lots of backtracking, even if you have more advanced machinery. Accessibility-wise, there are no options to adjust the gameplay, so take that into consideration when you require colorblind filters or similar. There is not much sensitive content we would know of, except if you are uncomfortable with dark and confined spaces or have strong motion sickness. Also, if you have strong OCD and your co-op partner does not, you might not want to play together. Other than that, you can change the difficulty and even play in creative mode, which alleviates some of the aforementioned problems. Or you pick the hardcore run and face the random pebbles on the ground as your nemesis.
Lastly, we also need to talk about the technical part. We know the DLC is called Glitchwalkers, but we didn't expect the game to be that glitchy and buggy after all this time it has been out. We encounter quite a wide variety of problems, ranging from items dropping through the floor, many sudden deaths, to teleportations into the stratosphere with losing all our items. Also, random crashes to desktop, and finally a completely corrupted save game that made joining only possible through a series of steps we had to figure out ourselves.
It never fixed the save game completely, but let me join again. However, and here comes a content warning for those who have problems with flashy imagery. You should close your eyes for a minute. The game itself didn't seem to keep track of my character anymore. So every time I loaded in, all the days that have passed since the save file's creation flashed by in an instant. A thing to consider if you face this issue and are sensible to this kind of imagery. You can now open your eyes again. Also, even with good hardware, the sporadic autosaving freezes the host's game, which happens quite often in co-op, as it seems to be tied to key events like entering and leaving vehicles. In general, it seemed like the core issue was the co-op itself, since for Nox as the host, these things happened way less frequently and the game seemed more stable in solo play.
So, is this game for you? It really depends on your expectations. If you like the vibrant visuals, the terraforming space theme, and enjoy a more relaxed progression with little to no handholding, playing together but without real in-depth co-op mechanics, you might enjoy it. Some design ideas are really unique and neat to play with after all. However, if you expect a deeper co-op experience than just exploring and gathering together, a captivating story, or a fledged out automation sim, Astroneer might not be the pick for you. Unfortunately, we also need to point out that this game is absolutely not for you if you dislike sometimes janky gameplay or are easily frustrated with bugs and glitches, as Astroneer really has a ton of them, especially in co-op. There are plenty of stories about people losing 400 hours plus of progression due to corrupted save games.
And with that out of the way, some final thoughts and remarks. What were our personal pros and cons?
I personally really like the way you can interact with each other. It's quite unique and feels personal. The technical aspects, however, were a huge turnoff for me, since I noticed Lumi getting very frustrated the longer we played, as she sometimes just randomly died multiple times in a minute or crashed to desktop.
Yep, but frustrated is a bit of an understatement. Aside from technical stuff, I kind of had a hard time starting out, like I felt really lost. What are we doing here and how? The UI didn't help with that. So, while Nox was already drilling through the crust of planet Silva like Swiss cheese, I was still reading the guidebook. What I liked most are the art style, background music, the puns, and cute costumes. Some of those are free, others are microtransactions only. Oh, and I loved the space snails and how you become friends with them. So, to wrap my opinion up, would I recommend this game to my best friend? No, probably not.
That verdict is mainly based on the technical problems. We hope the developer addresses these issues. It's currently way more frustrating than it needs to be, and this isn't even an early access game anymore. Even if a fix of the actual issues proves to be difficult, simple quality of life changes, like retrieving your lost equipment upon death, might just be a great improvement. Astroneer and its DLC cost currently around $40 full priced. If this is a price you're willing to pay, is up to you, but we hope that our review helped you make that decision.
But that's it for today's Co-op Space Expedition. We hope you enjoyed it and we will see you again in the next one.